Now, there's plenty more to talk about this week, and I'm delighted to say that Keith Pitt is here with some straight talk and some common sense. Keith, thanks for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it. Let's talk about ACMA, the Australian Communications and Media Authority. They've got new powers to combat online misinformation. Now, this is a big new push by the Labor government. You've got some fears about it. I do. You share yours with me.
Well, on Friday, through a quiet press release and a couple of interviews, Labor's announced effectively they're going to establish the Ministry for Truth and incremental changes to put in place the thought police. I mean, it is appalling. And the biggest outrage is, where is the outcry? How is it possible that the party that brought you Mediscare is now going to be responsible for establishing what a fact is? I mean, you've only got to look at the debate on The Voice, Corey. You've had social media already say they'll take the advice of one constitutional lawyer and not another's. The idea that Labor will be in charge of thoughts and opinions is just appalling.
Yeah, I know so many would share that, and particularly over the last year or so, we've now found a lot of online information, a lot of official information was actually misinformation. What was categorised as false and caused people to get cancelled was actually true. So who's actually going to decide what is disinformation, what is misinformation? Is it going to be the Labor government?
Well, from this proposal, that's what it seems. I mean, it is the choice of the individual to make their own informed choice. It is up to them. That is a great freedom of all Australians that has been fought for many years. And this looks like it's just going to slide past. I mean, your colleagues in the media, where are they? I don't understand how this hasn't just blown up like World War III. It is incredible. So a government department will decide what facts are. Now, I'm, as much as anyone else, Corey, I don't want to see harmful information online that's detrimental from terrorists and others. But to me, the easy solution here is get rid of fake accounts, get rid of bots, and use the laws that are already in place because individuals are identified.
Keith, no matter how unseemly some of the information that's out there is, it is much more dangerous to an orderly and democratic society to have a single conduit, a filter that it prescribes what you can and cannot see. That is a step to tyranny. Hey, I've got to move on though. Jacinda Ardern, not my favourite politician, she is the story of the week. The left have got her, canonised basically. What is her political legacy in your view?
Well, certainly the socialists have lost their pin-up. But, Corey, if you go to look at New Zealand, inflation's running at over 7%, their economy is tanking. And guess what? The wellbeing budget is exactly what we thought it would be. It's all about feelings instead of about numbers and the hard truths about the economy. And yet Federal Labor and Jim Chalmers, they want to follow exactly the same model. So New Zealand, I think she's been pushed before she had to jump. And the reality is, under the Rudd-Gillard-Rudd governments, this is the Gillard-Rudd iteration. They're looking to save the furniture for Labor in New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the bloke who's replaced her is any better, actually. But you mentioned Jim Chalmers. He says the worst of inflation is over. Have a look at this.
Obviously, we hope that inflation has now peaked, and we see the peak in the December numbers that we get this week, but that remains to be seen.
I thought this was more hope over substance, because when the effect of their energy policies come down the pipe, it's going to be felt by every household in the country, isn't it?
Corey, I've had people sending me a message today, $12 a kilo for cheese in some of the big supermarkets today, and almost $7 for a rock melon. I mean, he's kidding himself if he thinks inflation is on the way down and has peaked. And we saw, they spun so hard over the weekend over power prices. I'm surprised they didn't fall over from being so dizzy. Story 2 weeks ago, you've got Queensland power prices up 30%, and now magically they'll go down by a couple $100 somewhere in 2024. I mean, anyone that's watching this show, if your power bill is going down, you send me an email and let me know, because I haven't seen it happen at my place, and certainly no one's telling me that theirs is reducing. It's just nonsense.
Keith, over the Christmas break, I was contacted by a chap who runs a business. He got a notice from his electricity provider saying they were backdating some of the emergency provisions, and he was going to be getting a bill for electricity that he'd already used over the last 6 or 7 months. That could be tens of thousands of dollars in his case. This stuff is out of control. It is going to break budgets. It's going to break businesses. What's the answer?
Oh, the answer is get out of the way to start with. These interventions into coal and gas, I mean, we said what would happen, and that's exactly the outcome. You now don't have enough certainty in the industry for people to offer contracts for the long term. You've now got manufacturers in particular screaming because they can't get gas offers. No one knows what their costs are. Mandatory code of practice to come, intervention on the wholesale price, but only part of it. Retailers still able to do whatever they want. And in Queensland, they just keep taking money from the electricity sector hand over fist. I'm sure New South Wales wish they hadn't sold their coal-fired power stations for such a pittance 10 years ago.
Yeah, and in South Australia, they blew them up quite proudly. What a disgrace. Keith Pitt, thank you so much for joining me on the first show of the year. I hope you will not be a stranger during 2023, and good luck in Parliament.